On today's IRS tax refund update, we will take a look at the latest developments as the IRS has announced the official start date for this tax filing season. And from there, we will recap some of the top causes for refund delays this year, including one that impacts thousands of tax filers, as well as some of the codes you will encounter when checking your tax transcripts. Starting off with the latest, as the IRS has announced the start date of this upcoming tax season, which is set to begin on Monday, January 26th, with the tax filing deadline set for Wednesday, April 15th. Now, while we expect to see most tax returns processed and refunds issued within the 21-day processing period, there will be some tax filers who will experience delays, such as those claiming either the Earned Income Tax Credit and/or additional child tax credit until mid-February due to the PATH Act, as well as those who are randomly selected for ID verification, which we will discuss later on in this video. It is also important to note that with many of the online tax preparer websites, you will be able to prepare your tax returns early, and that the IRS will process a select amount of tax returns before that official January 26th start date as part of what is called batch testing or hub testing, where the IRS tests their systems to ensure there are no issues before the tax season begins using actual tax returns. And we have had viewers in the past who have had their returns processed as part of this process. However, do note the returns that are part of this are chosen at random. Now again, while we will see a majority of tax returns processed within that normal 21-day processing period, there will be those returns, including a number of viewers who will experience delays, sometimes weeks if not months, due to a variety of reasons, including the processing of the tax return is on hold due to the tax filer needing to complete ID verification, the IRS holding the return for wage and tax withholding, tax credit verification for some claiming credits, such as the Earned Income Tax Credit and/or Child Tax Credit, and oftentimes those experiencing delays will see the 570 code on their tax transcripts and possibly other codes such as the 810 and 971 codes. In addition, especially for early tax filers, they may experience delays in the updating of their tax transcripts or refund status results. Once you have been able to access your tax transcripts and the IRS has received your tax return, there will be several codes that will appear on your transcripts, specifically the 150 code, which indicates the IRS has received your tax return, and the 806 code, which represents tax withholdings from your income, in most cases your paycheck. Meanwhile, the 971 code represents a notice that is sent out by the IRS. However, one code that could appear that impacts thousands each year is the 570 code as seen here, which indicates a hold has been placed on your tax return, and additional action is needed, which could mean the IRS needs to examine the tax return further and may in fact request specific documentation from you, such as tax forms, so processing can continue. However, there will be instances where the IRS just needs additional time to review the return, possibly due to a small error that they can in fact correct themselves. Now, one common reason for those refund delays is the need to complete ID verification, which is usually a random selection process, and in particular seems to impact those who file their taxes earlier in the season. And if you are impacted by this problem, expect to see this message when checking your refund status results with this yellow action required box and a message below discussing ID verification. Again, do note, tax filers are usually chosen at random, and we have had viewers who have gone through this process in multiple years. Now this notice, the 5071C letter, is the most common letter that will be sent out to those impacted by ID verification, and again is necessary to complete the verification process online, as it contains a control number which must be entered online to start the process. However, what several of our viewers have reported in past years is they have been forced to contact the IRS by phone to have a notice sent out to them after they never received it in the mail. And until the verification process is complete, the refund will be kept on hold as a result. For those who are impacted by ID verification and have not received that notice and do not choose to wait for a replacement letter to be sent out, the other course of action would be to schedule an appointment at your local IRS office to complete the ID verification process in person. However, it is important to schedule an appointment beforehand and to bring in all requested paperwork, including valid photo identification and a copy of your recent tax returns to complete the process. Also, do note, if you complete the ID verification process online, it will say after successful completion to allow up to 9 weeks for processing. However, based on viewer feedback, that time frame has been closer to around 3 weeks. Let us know in the comment section below about your ongoing tax issue In the meantime, we will keep monitoring the situation for further developments, so make sure to click on the thumbs up and subscribe button below for future updates on this channel, and thanks for watching.